Hey class, Dr. Stevens here. It's time for you to begin picking your topic for your literature review, and as happens in every semester, I'm getting some inquiries from some of you asking for some guidance and advice, and so I thought I'd just put together a quick video to uh, help you in that process. I want you to understand that first and foremost that this is a research seminar course and we're studying the concepts of research. We will not be conducting any research. I want to be very clear on that. You are not permitted to go out and conduct any research on your own. That includes um, conducting interviews with anyone, anything to do with any living thing. You're not allowed to do that. Okay, so at a scholarly level, research like that has to be approved by what's called an IRB, an institutional review board, and SUU has an IRB, and any research that is conducted using human subjects or any other subjects that could potentially put the university at any kind of risk, that has to be proposed and approved. So that is not in the scope of anything you'll be doing here. But the literature review is a component of scholarly research. And to conduct a literature review, you do not have to have any sort of approval for that. So that's what we're doing here. So you'll be gathering existing resources. So you won't be conducting any new research of your own, but you'll be gathering existing published resources that is the result of, excuse me, of other researchers' previous work that ties to your topic. And you'll be reviewing those resources and then compiling them towards the end of the semester in a formal literature review that would closely parallel, only on a smaller scale, but it would parallel what you would actually see in a larger approved scholarly work. And if you have any question on what that might look like, you can find that kind of literature review everywhere. You can go to ebsco.com, I think it is. Any library, online library, SUU library is going to have online resources to where you can find theses or dissertations, and typically in those works, chapter 2 is going to be the literature review. At least in the education field it will be. Other disciplines might have different formats, but generally you're going to find a literature review. So regardless of what the topic of that literature review is, if you were to find one and take a quick look at it, you'd begin to get an understanding of what I'm talking about. And also, not that you need to buy the textbook, but in one of my other videos, I showed you a textbook, or not a textbook, but it's more of a manual, I guess, by Miles T. Bryant called the Portable Dissertation Advisor. It has an excellent chapter on literature reviews and the purpose and the different types that you can do. Okay, so with all that background there, for your topic, it certainly needs to be something that interests you. It needs to be something that you're going to be spending 8 weeks finding resources related to that topic, and then you're going to be writing a literature review, which will be another several weeks after that. So you're looking at a couple of months worth of work here on a topic, and so it needs to be something that's of interest to you. And keep in mind that this is just one semester. If you were to do something like this at the graduate or doctorate level, you might be spending a full year on this work. So it really needs to be something that is of interest to you and that you can be proud of in the end, that is something that you've become more of an expert on and an authority on. That is the whole point of a literature review, is to demonstrate that the researcher is becoming authoritative enough on the topic that the research that they eventually do conduct can be considered valid and legitimate. So you need to know what's been done so that you can add to that, and so that you don't duplicate what's already been done. So regarding your topic, just about any old topic will do. I'm not going to be that judgmental on your topic. As I noted in one of the other documents previously, there are a few topics that I won't approve, that I want you to avoid. Those were capital punishment, abortion, Second Amendment, and anything to do with legalizing drugs. I've had enough of all that. So something new and fresh would be very much appreciated there. So then you need to identify a question, well, first of all, with your topic, you need to determine what your position is going to be. And I've given the example in some of my previous writings, climate change. That's an easy one to talk about. So my example could be, my topic is climate change, and my position could be, I am convinced that it is a real thing, because that is up for debate. At least some people believe it is. So my position is that it is a real thing. My question, I want to come up with a question that I want to have answered through my research, through the literature. And so my question would be, who benefits from the whole narrative of climate change? Somebody is benefiting. We know that. Okay, we know that. I'm getting tangled up here. Sorry. We know that Al Gore has become extremely rich by talking about global climate change. Whether or not he's actually accomplished anything, that's another issue. But so as an example, my question could be, I want to know who is benefiting from this whole narrative. And then I would try to find resources that answer that question. And I could go about that in a whole variety of ways, and I'm not going to go into detail here. But that would be just a real quick example of how you might approach this. A topic that's of interest to you, a position that you can support with the literature, and then a question that you can answer with the literature. And then in the end of all that, you're going to come to a conclusion. And in some cases, you could make a recommendation, although I'm not expecting that in this case. But in real research, you would have a recommendation of some kind, so that the reader knows what you think ought to be done next, or potentially. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. Kind of jump back and forth, but don't agonize over this too much. I mean, this is not life-changing. However, I would hope that in the end, your literature review, which is going to be a 6-page document, if I'm correct, I'm hoping that would be something that you would consider to be a fine work that you could include in a portfolio that demonstrates first of all, your writing ability, demonstrates your ability to analyze an issue, demonstrates that you have become more authoritative on a particular topic, and so that when you go to a job interview, or you're applying for graduate school, or whatever opportunity you might be seeking, that you would have a piece of your work that you could show to someone and say, look what I've done. I'm capable of this level of quality work. So that's my eventual hope. But in terms of the topic, that's totally up to you. It needs to be something that you hold some value in, and that you feel like that in the end, having studied it, that this will have all been worth it to you. So feel free to send me messages through Canvas. I'm hoping that this video might answer the question of half the class, so that I don't have to write the same answer out over and over again. But I realize this is a bit of a challenge, a little bit more so than just what some individual classes that you take might call a research paper, where you go and you find 3 articles and you summarize them and you submit it. This is more extensive than that. This is meant to prepare you for actual academic writing that you would be expected to do at a graduate level. So good luck. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to help you in this process.